Hi guys, so I did my make something project using two eggs and Newton's first law, also known as the law of inertia, which is an object in motion stays in motion and an object at rest stays at rest with the exception of any net forces. Net forces could include a person, wind, gravity, anything of those sorts, a table, the ground, anything like that. Anything that can stop or start a reaction can be considered a net force, which you will see because we're going to slowly move into that. Basically, to sum it all up, I wanted to use these common household items to show a theory is true in science. You don't have to have the special equipment, the expensive equipment. You don't have to have like this extravagant stuff. You don't have to have a lab to prove these things is true and to see them in real time, in real world. I just wanted to express that and show that in the easiest way possible. And the best way that I could do that was with an egg. Well, two eggs. As I said before, we're aiming to prove Newton's first law is correct and that it's the right theory, it makes sense and everything like that. So I aim to use the most common and simple household items to prove this theory so that anyone at home or pretty much wherever they're at can always just do the same thing, or even if they use different objects, just to have the same basis and the same idea and to understand the general principle of the law. I chose this law specifically because I really just feel like this is something that goes over a lot of people's heads. I know it definitely went over mine. It definitely still does, kind of, to be honest, because obviously we know gravity is a thing, right? And obviously we know that like nothing's gonna move if we don't touch it or if we don't pick it up. Like a cup is not just gonna get up, grow legs, and start walking away. Like we know that those are simple things, but when you put it into the perspective of physics, it's a little different because it's like you don't think like, oh wow, like that wouldn't have happened if gravity wasn't pulling you down, or oh wow, that like falling would have just kept falling and falling and falling until something would have stopped it. Those are not really things that we think about. We're kind of, I feel like, oblivious to it in a sense throughout our everyday to day lives. So I really just wanted to point that out. So it's like, boom, this thing is in your face every day, all the time, and we don't really notice it. We don't pay attention to it, but it's literally right here. So that's what I was aiming to like bring out of this. In this project, we have two positions. We have an object at rest and we have the object that is at motion. First, the object at rest. So the object at rest is going to be egg number one, which is the egg that we just sit on the table. We don't touch it. We don't blow on it. We don't do anything. We just let it sit there. So that egg is now an object at rest. So the net force in this case would be me or whoever is doing the demonstration who would go to pick up the egg or to spin the egg or crack the egg or whatever the case may be. That person would now be the net force because they're starting the reaction of the egg moving. Like they're getting it moving, they're taking it out of its rest position, right? So that would be an object at rest, something that is in one place, not moving, not being touched, you know, just sitting there. An object in motion, which is the second position, which would be dropping the egg. That's what is demonstrated by, is dropping the egg. So when you drop the egg is going to hit the table and it's going to crack. When it cracks, you will see that the net force in this case is now the table. And the net force in this case is the table because the table is stopping the reaction of the egg falling. Gravity is pulling the egg down, but the table is stopping it, which is making it crack. So, as it is shown from this, an object in motion stays in motion. If the table wasn't there, the egg would just keep falling until it hit the floor. And if the floor wasn't there, then it would just keep falling until it hit the earth, the core of the earth. And if the core of the earth wasn't there, it would just keep falling straight through and just keep going and going and going until eventually something stops it. So That's how an object in motion stays in motion. And obviously, an object at rest will stay at rest because it's at rest. We're not touching it, we're not doing anything to it, we're not blowing on it, we're not moving it, we're not doing anything. So it's always going to be at rest. So, the moral of this presentation was to show that obviously Newton's first law is very valid and it's very right. It's a justifiable law of physics, and anybody can prove that, anybody can do it, anybody can understand it. It's something that we use during our day-to-day lives that we don't even notice. When you drop something on the floor, you should thank Newton's first law, because it's like, man, that could have fell a lot farther if the floor was not here. You know, when you sit down a cup, thank Newton's first law, because man, that cup would have just kept falling if I didn't have a table to sit it on, or it would have grew legs and walked away. You know, things like that. So we should always pay attention, be more aware of our surroundings, especially with science. Like, everything is science. But yeah, that's all I wanted to show, and thank you guys for watching. Bye.